That's a good start, John. Way to go. 30 seconds of absolute dead air. That was fantastic. You know you've done a morning person win. All right, let's try that again. Morning. Man, I haven't even had, our first guest. He's already working on probably his second or third cup of coffee. I barely have started my Mountain Dew. You start 5 minutes early, and this is what happens. Welcome to Tuesday Thoughts. John here, you there. It's SDHAM, and it's one of those days where you knock on somebody's door, and it is really cool sometimes when they open it because batting lead off in a no dilly, no dally zone. I know that those of you in the Twitch pitch have questions. I got questions. We got him for about 20 minutes, and then he's off racing through the rest of his day. It is Senior Director of Match Officials at the Professional Referees Organization, otherwise known as PRO. It is Mark Geiger, and he gets to answer our questions here on Tuesday. Mark, so what cup of coffee are you on?
Actually, it's only my first, John, so not too bad.
Okay, well, first off, thanks for taking the time because I know that a lot of folks who watch the sport, especially here domestically, they got a lot of questions about what's going on. Are you ready, sir?
I am ready. Let's do this.
All right, so my first question for you is when it comes to the officials in Major League Soccer here in 2025, how would you grade their overall performance this year?
I think we started off pretty well. There were a couple rocky weekends that we had coming out of the gate, and that's going to happen for clubs and teams and players, getting shaking off the rust a little bit. But past few weekends have been really strong collectively. We're always going to have situations to talk about, debatable decisions that are made. But overall, I think things have gone well.
When it comes to pairing sets of officials, whether it's VAR, AVAR, and the folks that are on the pitch, how far in advance do you sit there and look at pairings and go, okay, I want this group with this group, or how do you determine who's upstairs and who's on the pitch?
Yeah, we release the assignments to the officials about 3 weeks in advance, and we start really 1 month ahead of time, looking at the fixtures, looking at personalities in the game, what the demands are, and then what referee is going to have the best personality and have the greatest chance of success on each game. So we're not just picking names out of a hat and putting them onto the field or in the Excel spreadsheet. We're actually trying to pair them up to be as successful as possible for the game.
So, when it comes to levels of experience, obviously, how much does that play into it too, where you want to try to have, even distribution of experience in Major League Soccer upstairs and downstairs?
Yeah, there are games where it's going to demand a senior crew on the game, and then there are some games that we think with the personality of the players and the demands that the game is, we anticipate, somebody that maybe lesser experience can be very successful in the game. When we have newer referees, yes, they will have experienced assistant referees or experienced VAR. So we do some pairing in that from that standpoint. But for the most part, these are all professional match officials. They've come through the ranks. They're very experienced by the time they even get to MLS. So we're confident with all 100 plus officials that we have on our roster.
Yeah, you mentioned the levels of confidence. How do you maintain, I guess this is a two-part question, my first two-part question of the day. How do you maintain levels of education when it comes to laws of the game to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that they know, okay, here's how this has to be administered going forward on a year-by-year basis when it comes to the schedule?
Yeah, we meet with all the referees in Dallas. We get together every few weeks and we look over the situations, the most critical situations that we've had from the past few match rounds. So that's how we really ensure that we have as much consistency as possible in how the game is called. You certainly want to have the same level of experience, same level of application of law throughout. So really getting together on that monthly basis is really important for our match officials.
When you have older, newer, when there's a bit of a bell curve when it comes to level of experience upstairs versus downstairs, how much of a watchful eye do you have from the league office and from your perch to sit there and it's like, okay, I need the two of you to handle this properly. I don't want one level of experience, whether that person is downstairs as center ref or upstairs as VAR. I don't want that person to try and make sure that there isn't any, unconscious steering, I guess, of results. You don't want to have a younger official intimidated from speaking up in a situation, whether they're upstairs or downstairs.
Yeah, the lesser experienced officials, we expect them to lead if they're the referee. The referee is the captain of their team. So even if everyone around them are the most experienced officials that we have in our roster, we still expect that lesser experienced official to lead their team throughout the game, prior to the game, and post game as well. I don't think any of them are really intimidated by the league looking in, or we're watching all the games. We're able to listen into the audio, and I don't think that intimidates them at all, because in the end, everything that we're doing is there to make them better, for the game and for themselves as well.
So when you have these the consistent evaluation processes, what goes into this constructive criticism to where it is constructive criticism,
Mhm.
and the officials, whether they're experienced or not, they don't sit there and take it too personally.
No, it's always constructive. So every single game is assessed. Every single official on the crew is assessed by an independent evaluator. So they'll go through positioning, movement, teamwork, match control, game management, player management. They'll look at all those different aspects for the assistant referees, offside decisions for VAR, whether they recommend a review or not, and really going down into the process that they take. So every single referee or official gets a score at the end of the game, but there's also the key match incident score, which is done by the pro management. So there's a panel that will evaluate each situation and decide if it was correct or incorrect. And then there's constant feedback with the officials through phone calls, Zoom, in-person meetings. So the managers are each working with their officials to really get the best out of them for their next game.
I was going to ask, what's the turnaround time with that evaluation where, okay, there's a match day, and then outside of the constant Zooms and everything, is it that every couple of weeks you get evaluated outside of the constant Zooms, or what's the turnaround time?
Oh, they'll get their feedback that week from every single game. So the assessor will talk to them before a Wednesday. The KMI panel, key match incident panel, will then evaluate on Wednesdays, and they receive their written feedback on Fridays. So during that next week, they're getting with their managers and talking with them about their performances.
If there is an official that, I'll use the word worrisome for lack of a
Mhm.
better word. If there is an official, or whether they're an AR primarily, or if they're a center ref, or if they're a VAR, what is the path toward improvement if all of the analysis and the evaluation is worrisome to pro?
Yeah, well, we have a couple options that we can do. We have, since we service so many different leagues, we can certainly put somebody down into the second division or third division if they really need some rehabilitation, let's say. But that's something that's not done very often at all. We may pair them with some more senior officials to help them through their next few matches. But really, it's all about building up their confidence and getting them back out on the field with correct decisions. We don't want to take severe action. Like, we could always remove somebody from their next assignment. Yes, that's done a few times each year because of something so controversial. But for the most part, most of the decisions, if there are some errors, they're subjective, they're gray. We're just looking for something a little bit different, a small tweak that they can apply in their next game.
Okay, so since you mentioned gray, let me get into deliberate action here.
Yeah.
I do want to double back and talk about
Sure.
promotion and things like that, and getting from USL, from wherever you go, to
Mhm.
higher divisions and things like that. I do want to get to that, but deliberate action has come up in the last couple of weeks, different games. And how do you, through laws of the game slash pro, view deliberate action? How do you sit there and say, yes, that is deliberate action? What is your definition?
It's interesting. This is something that's it's very rare in the games. First off, so to have 2 weeks in a row of very similar situations is pretty unique. FIFA and the IFAB had put out some guidance on this a couple years ago, which kind of swung the pendulum a little bit. They were saying that we would look at reaction versus action, and anytime there was an action, officials were saying that it was a deliberate play, and so offside wouldn't come in. But they said it really wasn't fair for defenders because they were trying to challenge for a ball where they had absolutely no real opportunity to really control it. So they swung the pendulum back a little bit, and they're looking for they're looking for players to have control of their body where they can control, possess, or clear the ball comfortably. So if they have to stretch for the ball, they have to reach for the ball, or they're not balanced, then it's not going to be looked at as a deliberate play, even though it might be an intentional or a deliberate action. So in the situation Atlanta, New England, and the situation St. Louis, Vancouver, both of those situations, the player's stretching or the defender stretching for the ball. So really no possibility or no expectation that they can truly control the ball. So the expected decision in those situations is offside.
So the effort by the defender, if I'm interpreting this correctly, so that the effort by the defender to make a deliberate action to stop the ball in its progress doesn't necessarily apply. It has to do with controlling of the action and wherever, it's like I'm
exactly.
Okay.
And really, it comes down to expectation as well, expectation of control. So just if a player's just poor at what they're doing and can't control it, but there's an expectation that they would control it based on the speed of the ball, it's on the ground as opposed to in the air, then there's no forgiveness. Then it's going to be still seen as a deliberate play. But again, in these situations that we had these past few weeks, in both of those, there was no expectation of them to actually be able to control the ball because they had to reach for it. So that's why we saw the video reviews in both situations for the offside.
Halftime with Mark Geiger here as he has parachuted into SDHAM, and we're discussing everything pro and calls and pros and cons and calls and everything in between as he has his first cup of coffee and I have my first cup of Mountain Dew. If deliberate action is leader in the clubhouse right now when it comes to the one particular law of the game where fans have the most hue and cry, is there a second one that is the one that is the most tackled, so to speak, when it comes to pro?
Well, I think it's going to be handball. Handball is probably one of the most difficult situations that we deal with every single weekend. I probably talk about handball with coaches and clubs more than any other topic. There's so much subjectivity, what's natural, what's unnatural, what's justifiable, what's the intent of the player, even though we're not supposed to talk about intent. So that's one that's always been a hot topic and something that we talk about a lot within our group and trying to achieve as much consistency as possible.
I was going to say, so what is the talk like at the table when everybody has their their hot tea or their cup of coffee? What are the talking points here?
Well, each situation is different, so it's really just trying to decide what the player is doing, what the defender is doing in most cases, since we really talk about it in the penalty area. And are they trying to block, or is what they're doing completely natural for a player that's challenging for the ball?
When it comes to VAR in and of itself, do you have referees that want to have that as their natural track? Do you have folks that don't want to do anything on the field? They just want to be in a booth someplace? Or do you have both sides where you may have those referees that may not necessarily physically, have the meet the markers when it comes to tracking 8 miles a match, that may gravitate toward wanting to be upstairs and be that expert counsel in VAR? Do you have both of those folks heading to the booth these days?
I think it's a little bit of everything. You have officials that have been on the field for many years and have retired from the field, and they see this as an opportunity to continue in the professional game. So you have just to call out one name, Kevin Stott, who was on the field since year one. It was time for him to hang up his boots, but now he's one of our most experienced VARs. We also have a crop of officials, of video match officials, that are on their way up the system. So they may be working USL or working NWSL matches. And while they're looking to move forward, this is an opportunity. They're very good at analyzing video. They're very good at considerations. So we give them an opportunity in booth, and it's a good introduction to MLS, the players, the referees, and what the expectations are by having them in the VOR.
So when you have these kinds of when pro is what it is, and right now Major League Soccer has the crews that are available to it that you assign on a weekly basis or once a month ahead of time. How do you gauge that next wave of individuals who are either in NWSL or USL Championship or League One? How does pro view promotion? And we already talked about relegation to a degree, but how do you view promotion when it comes to officials getting ready to that next level?
Yeah, we're constantly watching the matches that are in that second division and in the women's leagues that Pro 2 services. So we do have almost 100 officials doing those matches, and we're across those games. There's a whole department for Pro 2 that has another set of referee managers and coaches that are working with these officials, and there's a lot of conversation between those that service MLS and those that service the other leagues. So we have our list of officials that are performing in a very good way. We know who our trialists are going to be to give them an opportunity to show themselves in MLS to see if it's something that they're going to be able to be successful in going into the future. We always have officials that are talking about retirement. We have injuries that we have to deal with, just like any club. So we need to be ready to backfill those positions that open up.
So when it comes to training and making sure that your referees are as healthy as consistently as possible, is it just up to the individual, or does pro have its own training program? Hey, we want you to hit these markers. We want you to have this as a BMI. I mean, how do you handle that?
Yeah, we have a couple. We have a whole sports performance department, so that's headed up by Tom Beckfermit, and then he has some other coaches that are below him. So the referees and any newer assistant referees all have to be part of that sports performance program. Many of the veteran assistant referees, they've had their program since they started, so and we're confident in what they're doing. So we let them go ahead with that. And in the Pro 2 space, they also have exposure to the sports performance coaches. So it's a very structured program. They get their daily workouts each day to perform, and they need to report back with data. They all wear watches in order to collect their heart rate data and speeds and all of that information, and that goes to the coaches.
When it comes to the administration of fouls, that you have some folks that might be at 21 and a half on average, some folks that might be north of 30 on average. And I know that the fan may sit there and they see the numbers being as disparate as they are, and they're wondering about consistency of personality and a personality of a ref involving the personality of a match. And I know that probably goes into the discussion in assigning these kinds of folks, but for fans that sit there and they see somebody who calls a lot of fouls, and it might be in a matchup where the two teams are kind of freewheeling, and then you have a ref that doesn't call a lot of fouls, and that might be one that you could end up with 5 minutes for fighting if you're talking the National Hockey League. How do you gauge, once again, those ideas of, yeah, I know you call a lot of fouls, I know you don't, but you still benefit what pro is trying to do in navigating a match in Major League Soccer?
Yeah, we still have our expectations on what's a foul and what's not a foul. Of course, everyone has their own interpretation when in those gray situations, that narrow band of is it a foul or is it not? Ones that we would sit there and debate. And the officials are very consistent within themselves on how they navigate those areas. I think that the foul count or the average foul count is pretty consistent across the board. Early in the season, you may see some disparities, but that's just because the demands of one particular game were higher or lower than something that the other officials were seeing. So when we see that disparity from game to game, it's really what the demands of the game were and what the players are doing on the field, and then how the officials responded to that.
When it comes to the fan these days and the players, here's one: crowding. Right now, I know that if you're a man in the middle, all you really want to do is you want to talk to the guy that's got the C on, but that doesn't necessarily happen every single time. What kind of feedback do you get from your refs about, okay, look, it's like there are like 5 guys here and they don't need to be here? What feedback do you get about the crowding situation and folks trying to chirp in your refs' ears?
I tell you what, the captain's not always the best person to talk to. Also, there might be somebody that's a little bit more calm in a situation that the referees can talk to, and really we encourage them to manage every player on the field or talk with every player and try to get the best out of them moving forward for the game. But we have only the captain this year. Which is a worldwide initiative in order to tackle dissent and tackle mobbing of officials. Where if officials have 3, 4, 5 players that are coming in a more aggressive way, they can initiate only the captain, where they create about a 4-yard space around them, and only the captain is able to come in and talk to the referee at that moment. And it's a really good opportunity, because now the expectation is not only will the referee just say, no, I was right, or it's a clear penalty for me, they'll actually provide now an explanation to the captain as to why they made the decision that they did.
Are in a situation like that, when crowding still happens after the fact, and I know that the fourth is holding up the board for us here, are you satisfied with how your center refs are handling it when crowding continues after you still end up with, no more, get out of my space, I want to talk to this guy?
like they've done around the world. Last year, we initiated a dissent initiative. So we gave them clear guidelines, and we told them that we would support them all season long when they started issuing yellow cards for dissent in these situations where there's clear aggressive behavior or mobbing of the officials. So if they do only the captain and they're speaking to the captain, somebody else steps in order to dissent, we expect them to give yellow cards in these situations. But because of only the captain, we've seen a decrease in the number of yellow cards for dissent. It's having a positive impact so far. I'm hoping that continues all season long. But I think it's a really good tool for them to clean up the game. The image is really important for us, because anything that the grassroots players and coaches and fans see on TV is something that they mimic down at the levels that they're playing in, and we're seeing a decrease in referees at the grassroots level, which is ultimately going to hurt the professional game because there's a smaller pool to choose from.
I was going to say, before you get out of here, best advice you can give for somebody that wants to be involved at the grassroots level to someday possibly be in Major League Soccer?
Try it. Just try. Pick up the whistle, pick up the flag, get out there and have fun. It's a great part. It's a great part of the game. It's a great way, another pathway to be part at a higher and higher level. And we have referees of all races, genders, abilities out on the field. So there's an opportunity for everyone to move up the ladder and be the best referee they can be, and to be part of the game at the highest level they can get to.
Mark Geiger from Pro, the Grand Exalted Poobah, top of the pyramid. As always, great to see you. Thanks for coming on and answering some of our questions. And as always, now that we know how to get in touch, you know that sometimes we'll be knocking on your door. Thanks for dropping by SDHAM. Be good.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, Mark Geiger, everybody. So Mark put up with us. He got to see how the sausage was made. He got to see how helmet hair happens when it comes to headsets and all that kind of stuff. But that's Mark Geiger. And once again, thanks to everybody, Chris Rivet and everybody at Pro, for helping necessitate that, because there's a lot of stuff that we needed to get into. And I knew it was going to kind of be rapid fire. And once again, thanks to Mark and everybody there to make sure that this was happening. I hope that was helpful in all of these ideas. Obviously, we will take this particular segment and we'll roll the audio over later this morning, early this afternoon. You can hear that. You can hear the rest of the show as we go here. But that's Mark Geiger from Pro. Can't thank him enough for putting up with all of our questions, because literally there was a lot of stuff that we needed to kind of get into, and tried to get into it as best we could with follow-ups and things like that. So Senior Director Match Officials at Pro, Mark Geiger, dropping by to bat leadoff this morning here on Tuesday Thoughts. Hi. Wow. Okay. That's definitely a kind of a rapid-fire way to get things rolling this morning. So there you go. All right. So let's see what thoughts were after this particular rundown. Morning, Alex. Morning, Kevsey. Morning, Abby. Morning, Derek. And yeah, we gotta catch up with our friends with cheap viewers. That's not going to happen. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of cheap viewers here, and account suspended or deactivated. So I couldn't even do a thing. You got in, you got out. I mean, man, that's just not even cool. You don't even get the chance to suspend or deactivate or do all that kind of stuff. So, all right, so Sports Boffin, we will get into that coming up in a bit. Welcome, Sports Boffin. I believe it is your first visit. Morning, Derek. Morning, Abby. Morning, Michael. Thank you. Yeah, Kefsey, if it was a Geiger bot, that'd be kind of interesting. So there you go. What'd you think? How many questions were answered? How many questions do you still have? That's what we got. So, and so Derek is looking at things, sympathy for a defender who is bad at soccer. Kefsey wasn't a fan. Player was nowhere near the defender. You can't impact the decision to jump to clear. And Kefsey was looking for the Iko Para run into Joseph, assumed control, perhaps. Boffin, when we get into all of our thoughts after we've cleared the tables, we'll get into this. So remind me to talk about this in hour number 2. But yeah, no, Derek, literally it was a conversation that we've had with folks at Pro, and because of things that have been happening across the sport, it was like, okay, and especially in Major League Soccer and what we get to end up talking about on a daily basis. I've had conversations with folks at Pro and specifically Chris Rivet, and it's like, Chris, okay, the thing that you put out at the end of the week, that was the one thing that was left on the table, and it might be more of a question outside of Mark's purview, but yeah, the end of the week report and how you don't hear. You get to see certain things, you don't get to see certain things. The viewing and how when you look at inside the VAR studio, um, obviously there are things that we disagree about. And so that was why that conversation started. It's like, hey, you send a question in an email to Pro, and it's like, well, what's the desired idea when you do this, and this? And then the conversation starts. And because of what happened, specifically because of deliberate action, I reached back out, and it was one of those where, okay, so it's deliberate action. And is there anybody that we can talk to about this kind of stuff? And they offered up Mark, and I was like, okay, cool. That was random and accepted. And so this was about 2 weeks of figuring out a good time slot to have Mark in, and we had to start the show 5 minutes early. But anybody outside of the SDH purview doesn't quite necessarily understand that we start at 9:05 because we're Turner Time kids. It's a local reference. And so to start at 9 o'clock and have the mute button still activated when you start talking, that's what happens. So anyway, it's about a 2-week negotiation and trying to figure out a good time to catch up with Mark there in his studio space. And so that was how it came to be. And so I tried to tackle as many issues as possible and as many questions as I had without really going, because I could have spent probably another 20 minutes easily in breaking things down. But once again, you sit there, you have this talk, and then it sets up stuff down the road where you can have other things to talk about. But deliberate action happening twice back-to-back weeks, once involving Atlanta United, that was a no-brainer to understand, okay, where are you coming from? And I think that we all probably respectfully disagree when it comes to deliberate action, where if you're in the way of something, then to me, if you're making a deliberate action to get in the way, you're still making that deliberate action. So I think deliberate action is going to be one of those things that we continue to discuss and continue to disagree with, and all of that particular kind of activity. So deliberate action, I know that we're probably going to agree to disagree on when it comes to all of that kind of stuff. Intent. Yeah, Abby and intent. That was a stretch. And yeah, thank you, Abby. Blocking them already. Love it. And Morning Harry. So, and Michael, yeah, and that was why I wanted to bring up crowding. And I'm glad that triggered an idea, because we see a lot, specifically with Messi and friends, where you'll have center refs who will sit there and they'll want to talk to a captain. Mark mentioned that sometimes the captain's not the best person to talk to, but still that doesn't keep 4 other individuals from coming in. And what I'm sure that a lot of folks would like to see, especially those that are ones that follow the laws of the game, it's like, look, you're crowding, bang, 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 instead of you're crowding, all of you are talking, back away. And so that kind of a thing. So, I think that we are still going to agree to disagree on the interpretation of deliberate action, as Bart says. So Bart Bart doesn't agree with the interpretation of deliberate action, having sat through training modules. And so I think that, once again, involving deliberate action, the fact that you are deciding to navigate your defensive stance to prevent the ball from doing something, that to me means that you are thinking about doing something deliberate. To me, that would interpret itself as, okay, I'm going to put my foot out. You're thinking that you're going to put your foot out. It's not a reflex action. It is not a reflex. It is, so reflex versus deliberate, I think, is what we're getting into. So I think that legitimately we're going to continue to agree to disagree about deliberate action, because every single time that you sit there, because self-defense is one thing, self-defense, turning your body to, protecting yourself in self-defense is one thing. When you stick your foot out, That to me is a deliberate action, not protecting yourself from getting smashed by a soccer ball at 45 miles an hour from close range. So I think that okay. So I'm under the distinct impression that deliberate action is going to be something that we are going to continue to disagree about. Meaning with pro, considering if you do nothing, if you do nothing except protect yourself, make yourself smaller, whatever turn, that to me is self-defense. If you're trying to sit there, make yourself bigger and extend a leg one way or the other, that to me means that you're thinking about doing something to get in the way of the path of the ball. That to me means that okay. Here we go. So I'm going to Webster's. So here we go. And once again, probably this needs to be taken up with Mr. Wenger and Laws of the Game whenever they have their summits. Okay. As an adjective, definition 1, done on purpose, semicolon, intentional. Definition 2, formed with deliberation, carefully considered, not sudden or rash. Definition 3, of a person weighing facts and arguments with a view to a choice or decision, semicolon, carefully considering the probable consequences of a step, semicolon, slow in determining. Deliberate. So what we're looking at here is definition numbers 1 and 2. Done on purpose, semicolon, intentional, and or formed with deliberation, semicolon, carefully considered, semicolon, not sudden or rash. If we apply definitions 1 and 2 as the adjective deliberate, I think that we're going to agree to disagree because of what it's going to be taking in that particular moment. So then we got into crowding. I wanted to get into that. And like I said, we kept Mark for about 2 minutes over, and I probably could have gone at least another 10 with all the topics. Abby, start issuing cards. Yes, if the captain's not the best to speak, but you don't need 4 players. No, you don't. And I think that a lot of time, and I think in the moment, I think that what you need to have more center refs sit there and go, after they do the clearing of the waves, clear out, give me my 4-foot ring. Who's my dude? I'm talking. Then it's, anybody gets inside the bull ring, bang, bang, bang. We need to see more of that. But I fear that because you have star power attached a lot of times, and I'm not just talking about the team that dresses in pink and black. You have players who, and I think that you have center refs at times that don't want to have matches finish 11v10. So they keep the card in their pocket instead of going bang, bang, bang. You're inside the 4-foot circle. Keep going. You're done. I don't think we have enough of that. If that is, in fact, the law of the game where 4-foot bull ring and people still crowd, even not necessarily on that play, then you've got to have more. You've got to have more fortitude from your center refs, not being afraid to sit there and go bang, bang, bang. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to go down the row and treat it like the shooting gallery when you're at the 2-bit amusement park with the really rusty Ferris wheel. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to go bang, bang, bang. I fear, though, you have too many officials that don't want to have a game go away from 11v11. like I said, that's my thought attached to the idea of not wanting your stars to be taken off the match and then taking out of other matches. So those two things being in play. Let's see what else is going on. Derek, defenders being awarded for errors. Kefsey, if he does nothing, the ball does not go to Pedro and probably out, even if it reached out, could only be offside if not played prior by the defender. Same with Opara. If you let the ball go to Joseph, he's off. Thinking he misplays it due to question. Thinking about the lurking striker he's aware of. Yeah, and Derek, right. Yeah, Derek, not only talking about the pink team, but for sure talking about the pink team. Yes, exactly right. So, yeah, and Boffin football and soccer could learn from both codes of rugby in regards to respect of officials. I mean, legitimately, they need to be just. There will always be a level of disrespect for center refs. You think and what you are going to do is you are going to gauge, and it's all, and part of it's gamesmanship without question. But you have Team A who sits there and navigates the match a certain way. Then it gets to, okay, I know what this center ref is going to do. I know this center ref isn't going to call anything. And that was why I asked the question about making sure that you tried to, if you were pro 3 weeks out, if you had two teams that were physical, that you had a either you're going to have somebody who battles in the extremes. You're going to have somebody who's either going to be a blackjack dealer and go foul, 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 card, 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 or you're just going to let them go and they're going to kill each other. Whichever. But what you don't want is someone who's in the middle, who's going to call things and then not call things and overcorrect and that kind of. And that was why I asked about chemistry and figuring out, okay, who gets to be paired where with these matches. Do you bring in somebody who doesn't call a lot of fouls when one of the two teams is physical and the other one wants to play? That, to me, you're dealing with both sides of the equation. It's like, what do we do? It's like, well, we know that Philly does this. We know that Atlanta does this. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring in an official that sits there and doesn't call a lot of fouls, which benefits the home team, the physical team, which means that the other team in this case would have to navigate and understand, okay, this is the deal. We have to get closer to the other side when it comes to philosophy, or at least understanding what's going to be called and what isn't. And so that's why I wanted to get into that topic, because of we see a lot of times that come to the fore when we talk about it. We see times where you have the personality traits of both teams and an official that caters itself to one style or the other. So, Mark said that they're usually getting their assignments 3 weeks out. They make the assignments about a month away. So assigning someone who doesn't call a whole lot of fouls to a team that's very physical, naturally you would think would benefit the team that is very physical. Like I said, and that's why I wanted to ask that particular question. And I wanted to ask about training. I wanted to ask about review. I wanted to ask about, for lack of a better word, the programs that you put on if there are officials that grade poorly. What is their path back to being a part of natural selection when it comes to matchups? Do you in fact get sent down to lower divisions to help your craft? Apparently you do. So yeah, and Kefsey says that you got to plot, a month ahead of time. True, but I would also think that you would know the layout of the club that you're sending an individual for. Like if you do you want someone, as I would think, I would think that in a matchup that you have okay, so the numbers have kind of evened out a little bit. So right now, just as an average, the man that has called the most fouls per match is Philip Dujic, and it is hang on. Let me see if we have Fouls per match average. Okay. Eligio Adeguin is still at the top of the ladder at 33. Joe Dickerson, no surprise, is at just under 30 at 29.8. Then it's Ricardo Fierro, Rosendo Mendoza, Philip Dujic, Guido Gonzalez Jr., Abdu Njai, who has called one match in the middle. Eligio Adeguin has called only one match in the middle. Guido Gonzalez, Sergei Demyanchuk, and that gets you to Malik Badawi and Fotis Bazakis. That's your top 10. If you take out the edge of the bell curve in Adeguin, Dickerson is at number 2 at 29.8. Fierro is third at 28.6. Mendoza, 28.5. Dujic, 28.38. Njai, 27, but he's only done the one match. Guido Gonzalez Jr., 26.7. Sergei Demyanchuk, 26.25. Badawi, 25.83. Fotis Bazakis, 25.4. And then you really have you have smallest of small gaps between, say, Badawi at 25.83 to Pierre-Luc Lazier, who is 14th. So 9 to 14, you're in a group. 9 to 15, really, you're in a group. And then you get into the 23, starting with Sergi Boyko at 16. And Alan Chapman is last in fouls per match average at 20.83. Drew Fisher at 21 2/3. Jair Marufo at 21.8. Katerina Koroleva at 22. Tori Penso at 22. Victor Rivas at 22.6. Rubiel Vasquez at 22.83. But Alan Chapman, dead last in fouls called per match at 20.83. But you would hope that in situations where you have, say, that bottom group in number, not in ability, in number. So if we were to take, say, Tori Penso, Jair Marufo, Drew Fisher, Alan Chapman, 20.83 to 22. If you were to take that group, 23, 25, 26, and 27. If you saw them coming, then you should know going in the kind of match that is going to be called or not called. If you are a team that likes to play, and you're going up against a team that doesn't want to play, ball's got cooties, kick it long, we're going to kick you, we're going to be physical, what have you. I would hope that when you know that assignment of if it's any one of those bottom 5 in number, once again, number, not ability, that you know going in. Doesn't matter who you are. Could be could be Messi and friends playing Philly. Could be Messi and friends playing could be Atlanta or anybody who playing, think of a team that fouls a lot. Team that wants to play, team that fouls a lot. Red Bulls. So Red Bulls, any team that fouls a lot, that's very, very physical. Red Bulls, Philly, what have you. So if you've got a team that's over here and you've got a team that plays the other way and you've got a ref that goes to this way and markedly this way over another, then you know the kind of match you should be expecting. And so that's why every week when we find out what the lineups are, that's why I let everybody know who the lineups are when it comes to center refs and things like that. So food for thought on a Tuesday. Food for thought on a Tuesday. Boffin, reason I asked the question was that abuse of an official, lengthy suspension in both codes of rugby. One player suspended for 8 weeks. Way to improve respect for referees. Yeah, in theory, Boffin, it is. But at the same time, you're not going to, you may lose that player, but it may not necessarily change your style of play. So that's stuff that to keep in there. No, and like I said, Kefsey, Pro gets massive props. Chris Rivet and everybody at Pro gets massive props. And for Mark Geiger to come in here to discuss all of these different topics. And like I said, I know it was kind of rapid fiery for about 20 minutes. Like I said, I could have gone at least another 10. But we had him on a strict time schedule, and I went +2. So I'm hoping that the fourth didn't get mad or give me a card sooner or later. But Yeah, so you should never expect a bad week to be remedied with a change. So, like I said, just what I want to do every week, and it happens on Fridays, I guess, because that's when they're released. Mike will give you the early look at who the particular center ref is going to be and the VAR. But I always try to make a point of who those center refs are going into a match weekend so we can kind of keep an eye out and go, okay, this is the kind of match you'd like to see. This is the kind of match we may expect. So that's kind of where I was in that part of the discussion. So I'm hoping that we got to tackle every topic. I'm hoping that we did. I'm hoping that at least early on, anyway, that we got to tackle as many topics as we possibly could in a very short period of time. So it was something that we tried to lock in and try just to get folks to lay out when it comes to all of this stuff. So. And so that's where we are. I mean, it was. Yeah. So sorry, I'm trying to do like two things at once. It'd be nice if I could type and actually do. I'm trying to get everything squared away for Soccer's in Session coming up here at noon Eastern. All right. So just to give you a heads up, Soccer's in Session is going to be more than just Wednesdays for the playoffs, as far in as we can go for the next couple of weeks. Won't be, might be an hour, might not. Depends on the guests. Today, just to let you know, at noon on the network, Ryan Burkhart from North Gwinnett, and it's going to be Jennifer Barr, the head coach at Denmark. They play each other today on the women's side. And Nathan Nadeau, the head coach at Dooley County, is going to join us at 12:30, and we're going to talk about the success that he has had with that program down in Vienna. So literally, I have coaches asking, okay, what are we going to talk about? These kinds of things. So that was what I was trying to take care of. We're also going to catch up with Clay Livingston at 1 o'clock. We're going to flip that to the network as a 1v1. So Ryan Burkhart at North Gwinnett, Barr at Denmark, Nathan Nadeau at Dooley County, Clay Livingston. We might actually go long. Depending on how we go and depending on how many other coaches we have, we might go long, we might not. So Clay Livingston's either going to be live or on tape. Then tomorrow, it is going to be Will Homskis, the head coach at the girls' side of Lincoln County. That's going to be at noon. Nathan Dooley from Perry is going to join us at 12:30 because they have a double match day against Druid Hills. We're going to try and see if we can get Kai Uchimura to join us in that show as well, so we can get those match previews to go there. And then Coach Romano from Oconee County is going to be a tape piece, and that's going to get flipped at later in the afternoon as well. Thursday, it looks like it's going to be Brian Lawson, the head coach at Jeff Davis, Jeremy Moore, the head coach at Toombs, and then on Friday, I know that we're going to have Coach Pettit from Callaway to bat lead off at noon. The rest of it we'll figure out as we go. So that's Soccer's in Session presented by Kaiser Permanente. That's going to be a staple in the noon hour here during the playoffs. We're going to try and catch up with as many coaches as humanly possible that we can find on any given day. Try to catch up with them on match days because, especially if they're at home, they may not necessarily be all that busy. They're just kind of trying to have busy work, and if we can be a part of that busy work in the noon hour, that would be kind of cool. But today, once again, Ryan Burkhart and Jennifer Barr, head coaches at North Gwinnett and Denmark, they're playing each other tonight. And then Nathan Nadeau, the head coach at Dooley County, is going to join us at 12:30. We'll go over all your brackets, go over all your matchups, and get you ready for everything going on. Clay Livingston from Towns is going to join us at 1 o'clock, and we're probably going to flip that just depending on how much steam we have at the time. And we might go an hour and 10 minutes. Today, the matchup on the network is at 6:30. 6:30 matchup, and it is Johns Creek at Lassiter. We will have that for you on the network, and that'll be at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. That will also be on the Mixler app. It will be at soccerdownhere.net. You hit the listen tab, you go to SDH, and you get to click and listen to the match live. So that's your high school action today. Tomorrow, we're planning another high school game. Trying to get word from the GHSA about what we can do and what we can't and how we can go and all these kinds of things. So we're planning another high school match. It might come on the network before the twos coverage, which starts at 7 o'clock. Twos in Carolina Core, pregame show at 7, kick at 7:33 on the network. Soccerdownhere.mixler.com, Mixler app, soccerdownhere.net, hit the listen tab. So that's where we are with all of that. That is Wednesday. And like I said, we're planning on another matchup on Thursday on high school. We know where we want to go, but like I said, we've got to get word from the GHSA on a couple of things. So today it is Johns Creek and Lassiter. That much we know. We know that. 6:30 kick. Come on a little ahead of time. We'll have your brackets, have your matchups, all that kind of stuff going on in the match in and of itself, maybe a little post game, depending on the weather. But I think they moved it up because of the weather that's being anticipated in that particular part of East Cobb. So 6:30 kick. Come on a little bit forward with your pregame. Johns Creek Lassiter girls, first round of the playoffs from the Frank and Lutzy Field. Tomorrow, planning another matchup, and it would air before the twos in Carolina Core, which is at 7:30. Pregame 7 o'clock, and it would be on the Deuce to clear up the space to make sure that so the Deuce would have the high school game on Wednesday, then the Mothership SDH channel on Mixler would have Core and Atlanta United 2. Then once again that turns into more activity there. On the weekend it is Atlanta and Orlando. It's a 7 o'clock kick, so 6 o'clock would be your pregame 92.9 the game on the Odyssey app, and then at 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon we will have the matchup, I believe, at Northern Kentucky, where it is the twos and FC Cincinnati 2. So that's the remainder of the week that is going on live as far as we can tell. Also, now let's see what else is going on in your thoughts this morning. Yeah, and there have been times where a ref did get pulled. That is true. Yeah, and so that's why I wanted to ask about the review process. When it came to, okay, so how much of a quick turn is the review? What are they reviewed? When do they get pulled? What's the process for rehabilitation? Those kinds of things. And I wanted to get that done. I know, Abby, I can't do more than one. Yeah, it is Vienna. No. Okay, so let me see if I can remember. All right, so in Georgia, it is Houston, not Houston. It's Houston County, not Houston County. It is Forsyth County, and the town is Forsyth. So you have Forsyth County north of Atlanta. The town north of Macon is Forsyth. Second syllable. Forsyth County, even. Forsyth is the name of the town in Monroe County where you have Mary Persons. Monroe County does not have Monroe High School. That is in Albany. You have a lot of you'll have a lot of counties that have a lot of villes, but you don't have the counties. You have a lot of counties that don't have the towns or the tons. Jefferson County has Jeffersonville, just to give you an idea. The town of Quitman is not in Quitman County, and literally that's just the beginning of it. You could go in and around the state of Georgia, and you could have county name and a ville, or county name and a town, and it would be an entirely different county. That's what happens when you have 159 counties, and that was just a small sample. So, yes. So it is Vienna. Yeah, Vienna. It is not like Vienna. It is Vienna. I'm trying to think of some others quickly. Hawkinsville is not in Hawkins County. Pulaski has Fort Pulaski on the coast, but Pulaski County is in middle Georgia. I'm trying to think of some others really quickly. You don't have a Soper County, but you have Soperton. But they're all out there. I mean, so Jeffersonville is not in Jefferson County. It is in Twiggs County. Louisville is pronounced Louisville, even though it looks like Louisville, like the town in Kentucky. Like I said, that when you take Georgia history here in the state of Georgia as a student of high school in the state of Georgia, you have to pass, or you did when I was a kid anyway. Albany. I actually did an interview once with Nancy Lopez as Abby brings up Albany. She said that Ray Knight, her husband at the time, taught her how to pronounce it because Ray was from there, and it's like you're having a conversation with a guy named Al and a guy named Benny. Albany. That's if you're a native. That's how it's pronounced. It's Albany. For the rest of us, we always try and figure it out. But yeah, so that was what we were staring at when it came to Georgia history. So seriously, yes, Georgia history. You have to pass it, and you have to pass civics to get a diploma in Georgia high schools. And so in Georgia history, that meant you had to know the county seats of all 159 counties. And you had to randomly bring them up to the table. Sly is pronounced Sly. It is spelled Sechley. The county that is on your way to Augusta that looks like Taliaferro is pronounced Tolliver. That literally, these are just things that you learn and they stick with you. So that's what you're. But yeah, Vienna is Dooley County. We'll find out what's going on there. And so, Abby, what do you? It's like, wait a second. Wait a sec. Did Abby just get botted? Hang on. Because it looked like Abby had cheap viewers on Streamboo. Yeah, I was going to say that was not what you were trying to post. Thank you. Moonlighting is a spammer. Okay, here we go. Abby's PSA in the WPSL. Decatur, once again, Decatur FC, single game season ticket discounts, and you can catch up with our friends there. That we also probably, we had Joel Gould on the show, and we'll catch up with him and probably Gareth O'Sullivan as we get closer to the schedule. So we're probably going to be doing a lot of different things. Yes, boffing about the UK. No doubt. Absolutely true. Greenville, yes. Greenville is in Meriwether County. Greensboro is in Greene County. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So there we go. Yes, behind Texas. 159 counties in the state of Georgia. So, yeah, and you had to know them, and you had to know Georgia history and all this kind of stuff. So that's hour number one. Hour number one is Georgia history, all the bots, and Mark Geiger. But, yeah, so I think that we are going to respectfully agree to disagree when it comes to deliberate action. I think we're going to. I think we're definitely going to be agreeing to disagree on deliberate act and deliberate action. So that's hour number one. Hour number two is what we missed on the weekend in Major League Soccer and all of the news of the morning, all these other kinds of things. Shout out Blue Ridge. Catalucci, Blue Ridge. Fannin County, the head coach of the football team, is a very dear friend of mine. And the boss and I occasionally will go up to Blue Ridge, and we will rent a cabin for like a week, sometimes in June, sometimes whenever we can get out and head up north. But yeah, we will rent cabins up in Blue Ridge on, we try to make it a yearly basis, but yes, Fannin County, Blue Ridge. Fannin County Rebels and my buddy Chad Cheatham up there in Blue Ridge. And by the way, when the boss goes up to Blue Ridge, we go downtown, she buys out the olive oil store. Buys out the olive oil store. I'm not kidding. No, Bart, you had to take, you couldn't get it. You could take AP classes. Bart's like, well, I didn't know the 159. Maybe it was because I was in AP. Well, when I was in high school back in the time just after James Oglethorpe founded the state of Georgia, it was something that you had regardless. I took AP American History. I take it back. I took the AP American History exam when I was a junior. Got a 4. I had like a 103 average in basic U.S. history, basic American history in my high school. And I told the teacher, I said, I wanted to take the AP exam. Teacher was like, no, you don't. I'm like, yeah, I do. She's like, no, you don't. Yeah, I do. So I took the AP American history exam after taking basic American history and got a 4. Then when I was a senior, I signed up for AP European, hated every minute of it, and got a 3. But I still, if I still hadn't passed civics and Georgia history, I could not have gotten a diploma. I could not have made the walk. With David Ryan Harris, who sang a song about our graduating class at our graduation on the stage at Lakeside High School. So, yeah, David Ryan Harris, follow for now, classmate. There you go. Michael Head. Georgia's too many counties causes more government spending. There's too many counties, period. All right. So, hour number 2, let's get you through your promos. All right. So, here's how you can help out. In addition to what Abby was talking about with Decatur FC, here's what else you can do. You can help. Oh, let's check the Marshall Islands. See, now that we're checking the Marshall Islands project, since they got to 75% of their international window. All right, so they're like 7,000 short, 25 days to go. There was a big bump, and I've still yet to figure out where that big bump came from. But they had a big bump over the weekend, so they are 7,700 or just under 7,700 short on $26,000. So they're 3/4 of the way there. 25 days to go, and they're at $19,173, trying to get to 26,809. And yeah, probably we'll be there. We're going to check our schedules and see what's going on, but it is highly likely that we will be in Springdale, Arkansas, or at least somewhere close, to keep an eye on what's going on in mid-August, because 14 through 16. Nothing there yet. The 16th, Atlanta's in Colorado, and we have to come back after the 16th because Crown Legacy is playing Atlanta United 2 on the 17th. So Outrigger Cup is on the 14th, so we should be able to be safely in Arkansas for that. Jason will be at Dick's Sporting Goods Park in Commerce City, Colorado, but we'll all be back for the matchup on Sunday as Crown Legacy takes on the 2. So we should probably all be there who can be there in mid-August for the Outrigger Challenge Cup if they get the extra $7,000 in the next 25 days. So that's where they are. Big boost on the weekend. All right. So there's that. Once again, you can help out in a bunch of different ways. You buy the gear, and they've got new gear out, and I cursed them because it's more jerseys, and they're pretty sweet. Made by a local Marshallese company as well. So what you can do is you can help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation by buying the gear. But if you buy the scarf that is modeled by our Maddie Cruz, you get that from the other side of this door. And I've got, like I said, I got about 10 of them left. If you know somebody who wants one to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation on their bottom line, just keeping the lights on a daily basis, then you can get the scarf from me. Get the gear from them. It ships from England, but you get the scarf from me to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Don't forget, you can go to Olive and York, and you can get your SDH jersey. Once again, Kaiser Permanente across the front. Talk to Abby about personalization. When it comes to the Navy jersey with the floppy collar, you can either get the white personalization or the Navy or the Carolina blue personalization, the lighter blue personalization. Find out from Abby which one works best from her perspective, and she can let you know. But once again, go to Olive and York and get the first ever SDH jersey. Helps out our Soccer for Good campaign in 2025, and it helps out the projects that we have earmarked here for the 2025 Soccer for Good campaign. Beyond Goals Mentoring on one sleeve, Soccer for Good on the other sleeve, Kaiser Permanente across the front. You can go and catch how it was modeled by Greg Garza, Maddie Cruz, and Sophia Cupertino on the IG, the Grammar, the Insta, as the kids say these days. Also, you can go to Grady Baby Co., and what you can do there is you can get the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gear. And if you go to Grady Baby, once again, SDH Network on one cuff, Grady Baby logo on the other cuff. You can get it in red or black, and it helps out middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta Public School System. So that's where that collaboration is with all of the funds heading in that direction from our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. You can also go to the SDH store, and you can get your gear there. It's the new logo, and you can get sweatshirts and things like that. You can also get mug stickers, all that kind of stuff. And Jason has taken 2 of the old teams here in the area and has retrofitted, and you can get gear with them on it as well. And it is that is part of the conversation there when it comes to getting all the gear. Don't forget, you can become a Fanatico $10 a year, you can become a fanatico, and you get a whole bunch of discounts from a whole bunch of places, a lot of beer joints, restaurants, hotels, off of tabs when it comes to money that you spend inside the establishments. And that number of establishments is growing on a daily basis when it comes to everything that is there involving everything, including a resort in Costa Rica. I'm not kidding. Chateau Arenal. If you become a fanatico, you can get a discount at Chateau Arenal in one of the provinces of Costa Rica. So literally, if you want to go to Costa Rica and watch the CONCACAF Champions League, you want to go to watch Saprissa, Alajuelense, or Herediano, and you just want to go hang out at the resort, or if you just want to go hang out at the resort, you can do it by going to the Chant app, and you can become a fanatico for $10 a year. What do you do for $10 a year? Well, you can become a fanatico. You get to hang out. Soccer down here / join. There we go. I think that's it. Well, I think I did one too many characters, but yeah, soccer down here / join. When it goes out of frame, then I forget what it is. But group.chant.fan / soccer down here / join. You can become a part of our family here on the Chant app. Let me get the Chant app up and running here, and I'll shine it away from the lamp so it doesn't, look like that I'm doing anything. So there, you're in the Chant app. You're a fanatico. You get a bunch of discounts in a bunch of different places. Group.chant.fan / soccer down here / join. $10 a year, and you get to be a fanatico and to be a part of our conversations and all of our activity that way. Also, so let me see if I've forgotten anything. Abby mentioned Decatur FC, soccerdownhere.net, Chant app, be a fanatico. It is get the gear, go to Olive and York, and I think that's it for everybody. And Fanatis, fntz.co / soccer down here. And they've added a couple of leagues, and I think they've added Tigo Sports out of Central America just to continue to let you know what's going on. You can get all the BNs. You can get Nuestro Telecidio, For the Fans, Te Say, our buddy Nino Torres at Gold TV. You can get all of that all in one place. Tigo and Liga 1 Max Pro, Uruguay, like I said, all the Central America leagues that Tigo covers. You can get that all in one place at Fanatis. fntz.co / soccer down here helps them out for subscribers, helps us out at the network, it helps you out to continue to add being a degenerate when it comes to everything that you have going on in the in the world of SDH and SDHAM. I'll go through the guests here in a second. I need to be hydrated. Geiger had his coffee, and I didn't have a chance to take a sip of anything. Okay. The rest of the rundown for the week. We're going to have Mike Gramajo on tomorrow at 10:30. Mike works right now at Wesh TV Channel 2 in Orlando. He is assignment manager, and he also does the writing for their soccer content. Mike has done some stuff. He's done. I think he was with the Sentinel at one point. He had the Orlando Soccer Show at one point, and he was with the team, I think, at one point. And now he's at Wesh TV. 10:30 tomorrow. Mike's going to come on. We're going to talk Purple Team, and he's going to be in addition to our normal Wednesday guests. Tyler's going to join us at 9:15. And then it's going to be Dylan at 10 o'clock. Mike Gramajo is going to join us tomorrow from Wesh TV in Orlando, and he will discuss the Purple Team with us tomorrow. 10 o'clock, hour number one is what it always is as we get you ready for the Power Hour, and hour number two with Nino and Nico. Nino is probably going to be back from vacation. Sent me the photo from his time in Peru at the beach. And so he was there with the boss. And so we'll find out how the beach was. We'll find out what's going on in Nino's mind. And then Nico Moreno will join us at 10:30 to break down everything in the MLS from the Pacific perspective, getting ready for this particular match week. And then we'll catch up, hopefully, with our friends from Beyond Goals at 9:30 on Friday morning and break everything down there and find out what they think about what's going on with Atlanta United. Interesting thought from Jonathan Tannewald from the Philadelphia Inquirer after the match on the weekend. He said that he was leaving Subaru Park in Chester, and he was thinking about Atlanta United teams of the past, and the two names that popped up in his head were Jeff Learnowitz and Michael Parkhurst. Neither of those kinds of individuals are with Atlanta United in his mind now. So hopefully we can catch up with either Parkey or Greg at 9:30 on Friday morning and break down everything going on in their minds when it comes to mentoring their mentees, almost 250 different ones. Then what's going on with Atlanta United? Anything else going on? We're going to talk Rhode Island FC. If it's Parkey, the next time Parkey's on, we'll catch up with him about that and then find out what's going on with Greg as he has been globetrotting here during the summer. Then hour number 2, weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later, the hour of chaos and what everybody thinks about everything else going on and in and around either Major League Soccer or any of the other leagues that are going on. News out of the USL is that they have signed Gainbridge as their lead sponsor for the Super League. So it is now the Gainbridge USL Super League. So corporate sponsorship for Gainbridge and USL and Super League when it comes to everything there. So that's all your promos, I think. That's all your promos. All right, so let's get into what happened this past weekend in Major League Soccer and whatever else is on your mind this morning. And the schedule from the weekend that was passed. And we'll get into the post juice boxes and see who might have improved their lot, so to speak, when it came to all of the matchups in soccer. And we'll go over standings and things like that and get you ready. Plus the news of the AM. Don't forget Morning Espresso with Jason. Pops out somewhat concurrently with us here. If there's news that comes across Jason's desk first thing in the morning, he'll load it up in the Morning Espresso. He'll let you know what he thinks. He'll let you know about what's going on around the world. 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so, unless there's a rant that's attached. And then we get into that discussion with Jason. You can get Morning Espresso either in video form, audio form on your favorite podcatcher, or you can actually get it in newsletter form. And so you can have 3 ways to get Morning Espresso brought to us by our friends at Oglethorpe University. No, Abby, I don't think that Mark was mentioning anything having to do with not against Brad, but just in general, there are some times where somebody has a captain's armband just to have the captain's armband, and they may not necessarily have the captain's wherewithal, I guess. They may not have the cachet or the level of understanding or the level-headedness that you would need to be a captain, so to speak. So I think that sometimes, if the captain runs a little hot, and if there's another individual there that is close by that doesn't run a little hot, maybe you talk to that person. I think that's what Mark was getting to. Okay, results from this past weekend. And remember, the window closes, the first trade window, the first transfer window for Major League Soccer closes tomorrow. We'll get into some of the transactions that have happened and get you caught up on any of that. I do not anticipate that you will see anything involving Atlanta United as you are getting close to the end of this particular window. RSL, we'll get into RSL and we'll get into all of the other folks as you have Tom Bogert, who is over at Gimme Sport, and he's on top of all of that. But there are a couple of moves that have been made. We'll let you know about those as we go here on the morning. All right, so last weekend, in addition to, and we'll go from the beginning forward. All right, so Austin beat LAG 1-0. And I know that there are pitchforks and tiki torches out unnecessarily so in Los Angeles for Vanny, for manager Greg Vanny. I don't know why that's the case, considering that they don't have, and it was mentioned on social media. There was one chat attached to an LAG podcast. Is it time to get rid of Greg Vanny? Ricky Pouge responded on the 280-character app and said no. So you've got that. Messi and friends beat Crew 1-0. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. It was a goal by Benja Kremoski. And once again, you're getting an Inter Miami. Inter Miami was a dog. Inter Miami was a dog at a plus 181. One of the few times this year that you could have Messi and friends as a plus A, be an underdog, B, and convert on that underdog. So literally, if you decided that you wanted to put juice boxes on Messi and friends, you could do so at a plus 181. You could do so at a plus 181. And you could come out and be the you could be the dude. I think this is the first time this year, A, that they were a dog, B, that they were a road dog, C, that they converted on that at a plus 181. Simple goal in front of more than 60,000 in Cleveland. And it was a plus 181. Messi and friends got the Duke 1-0. Seattle shut out Nashville 3-0. A lot of folks were wondering where that offense was going to come from. It came from the sources that you were hunting for if you were a fan of Seattle. You're like, merciful Jesus, we finally got some goals scored. Folks getting healthy, lineups being what they were. And we'll talk to Nico about that on Thursday more in depth. DC beats Red Bulls by the score of 2-1 at a plus 256. Troy Lesane, I know that a lot of folks were sitting there wondering about him and the offense and what's his future and career dissipation lights and all that kind of stuff. This will calm things down for at least a day or two. Revs are scoring goals. Who are these Revs and what have they done with the Revs? They were a favorite, by the way. The Revs were a favorite at a plus 131. 2-0 win over NYC. NYC not scoring goals. Charlotte shut out San Diego. I think that San Diego's kind of come back to the mean a little bit. Charlotte put 3 on the board. I think that San Diego still has to figure out how to win on the road, and especially as you're going from one coast to the other, you're having to reorient your clock. You started at 4:40 local time. The San Diego got shut out on the road. 3 shutouts in a row. CF Montreal purple team, all caps Vancouver, and Minnesota and Dallas. By the way, they've started the destruction of the far stand at Toyota Stadium as part of the renovation for the facility. Try and see if we can figure out how we can get maybe some seats from Toyota Stadium or something like that. See if we can get that here in the office. Houston and Colorado. I know a lot of folks were. Houston was favored at a minus 115 because, once again, winning on the road in Major League Soccer. We've talked about that a lot. Houston and Colorado ends up as a 2-2 draw to plus 267. Cincinnati put 3 on Chicago at a plus 211. They won on the road. Toronto, probably in the shock of the weekend, beat RSL 1-0. The Diego Luna red, I wanted to get into that with Bart yesterday, and that was one of the contributing factors I would posit. But yeah, Toronto gets a win on the road at a plus 359. Portland and LA, and that was why we wanted to get into the Steve Cherundolo discussion with Bart about dissent. So Portland, LA, 3-3 draw, plus 246. Just for issues and giggles, we'll find out what plus 5.5 was in the over and the under. 5.5 was a plus 791. So if you had 5.5 in the over, plus 791 with Portland and LAFC. And once again, remember, Steve Cherundolo is wrapping up this season, and he's going back to Germany once this season is over. Now the questions are going to reign supreme as to who do you bring in. I know that there was mention on MLS on Apple about bringing in Jurgen Klopp and backing up the Brinks truck. He ain't coming. He ain't coming. Seems to be happy in Europe right now, happy with Red Bulls. I know that the lure of Lipstick City would be something there. I would be stunned if he's coming. I don't see it under any auspice or circumstance, but yes, LAFC does have to swing big and try and find someone who is more offensively inclined, shall we say, than Steve Cherundolo. Like I said, that's just me thinking. You got to find somebody. I don't think it's Jurgen Klopp. You got to find somebody who's more offensively minded. Yes, that would be Jurgen Klopp, but I don't think it's going to be Jurgen Klopp. Swing for the fences, LAFC. Can't wait to see who it is. And then the last match on the board, Sporting at San Jose. Sporting and Kerry Z were a plus 256. San Jose was a minus 109 in this matchup. A minus 109. So then when you look at the schedule, it's like, I don't know, MLS After Dark popped its head up again. So here's what happened. Ndembe scored, Shallowy scored, Garcia scored. It was 3-0 Kansas City in the 24th minute. Then the San Jose Earthquakes picked up their Ticonderoga number 2 pencil and went not so fast, my friend. Joseph scored in the 30th. Chicho Arango scored in the 42nd to make it 3-2. Kansas City sitting there going, uh-oh. Shallowy got his brace. Eric Tommy scored in the 85th to make it 5-2. And then Chicho Arango from the spot at 90+4 made it 5-3. So as we once again check the juice boxes in this one, once again, Sporting won at a +256. Let's go to 7.5, shall we? And find out. 7.5 was a +2,500. So if you had the opportunity to actually want to think that it was going to be a 7.5 or an 8-goal match, 7.5 a +2,500. So you would have done pretty well for yourself if you had thought that that was going to be a +2,500. Like I said, once again, as you're getting close to the end of the transfer window, the primary window here for Major League Soccer, Tommy Scoops, Slovakia international forward Robert Bojenik, hoping to complete a transfer from Boa Vista. Medical coming Tuesday. The player is already in Utah. Deals agreed between all parties for $2 million. One source has said there's a bit of a haggle over which the currency, the $2 million, was reached in. Is it 2 million euro, which is 2.3, or is it 2 million US, which is not 2 million euro? According to Tommy Scoops, RSL still hopeful to sign all transfer docs on Tuesday after the medical. Bojenik would hit the roster as a DP. You remember our talk about Boa Vista, right? I read the first part of this, and this is it's a developing story because it hasn't been signed. It's not quite breaking news because he hasn't signed. We'll call it a developing story. But the hook in it is this. You remember the conversations in the past that we've had about Boa Vista. Boa Vista is the financial equivalent of falling out of the chair trying to tie your shoes. Boa Vista can't rub 2 sticks together and pay their bills. You'll remember that last transfer window, Boa Vista, I want to say, signed 6 new guys. I don't know where the money came from. I don't know where the money went. I don't know if the money existed. What I also don't know is if these players got paid on time. Boa Vista has problems paying their bills and keeping their lights on. So I initially gravitated to a story that you'll remember about our friends at Boa Vista, and we'll talk to our buddy Nino Torres about this on Thursday. So $2 million, and you read that paragraph as your mind drifts back to the past and Boa Vista and Major League Soccer. The deal is agreed for $2 million, but one source says there's a bit of haggle over which currency the $2 million agreement was reached in. So if it's 2 million euro at $2.3 million, so 300,000, so it's like $1.17. So is it 2 million US, which would be like 1.7, So 1.7 million US, 2 million, or is it 2 million US, which would be like 1.7 million euro? I'll get my financing straight here in a second. Or is it 2 million euro, which is $2.3 million? Let's go back to 2020. FC Dallas still has not received the complete payment in a deal that sent Reggie Cannon to Boa Vista in 2020. Dallas requested RSL just pay them instead of Boa Vista, but that request was denied. So Boa Vista needs the cash to pay something. It would have made a lot of sense for Boa Vista to just kind of sit there and say, yeah, we know we owe FCD. Go ahead. But no, Boa Vista needs the money for something. Meal plan, car insurance, electric bill, paying the 6 dudes that they signed in the last window. Anything. They got to pay somebody something. But 5 years running, Reggie Cannon was transferred from FCD to Boa Vista 5 years ago. 5. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5. 2020, Reggie Cannon transferred from FCD to Boa Vista. FCD still hadn't gotten paid completely. So if we do a basic search on the Google machine with FCD and Boa Vista back in August 8th of 2024, Reggie Cannon was supposed to pay his former club $1.4 million for an early contract termination. Left the club unlawfully before the conclusion of his contract, according to FIFA. 26-year-old left the club in June of 23 due to reported unpaid wages. So then what does Boa Vista do? They take him to court. The only thing missing is Doug Llewellyn and Judge Wapner. Cannon had 45 days to pay Boa Vista, which included a 5% interest fee, but his current club QPR is going to complete the compensation payment of about $71,000. This was back at the time of the court case, August 9th of last year. As part of the ruling, Boa Vista will also have to pay Cannon $85,226 in unpaid wages plus 5% interest. So by the time all of this washes, basically Boa Vista still owed Reggie Cannon or somebody. So if you paid $71,000, then Boa Vista would have to pay Reggie Cannon $85,226 plus another $4,002. So basically you're looking at like $89,500. So basically Reggie Cannon still is owed like $18,000 as of 8 months ago. All right, Abby, good to see you. So Reggie Cannon is owed after 5 years after a deal was struck between FC Dallas and Boa Vista. And then after leaving in June of 23, 2 years ago, basically. About $15,000. So whatever the math is, if I'm mathing correctly, Boa Vista wasn't paying Reggie Cannon. Reggie decided to leave. He wanted to sue. Instead of sitting around in Portugal not getting paid, Reggie wanted to play football. QPR was like, okay. Reggie's like, nope, I'm done. I'm ripping up my deal. So what does Boa Vista do? We'll take him to court. And by the time it was done, Cannon ordered to pay Boavista $1.4 million for leaving the club early. $1.4 million for leaving the club early because they ain't paying you on time. And so Boavista, once again, this year decided in the transfer window to bring in like half a dozen dudes. Stuff like this that make you not want to go to Boavista or deal with Boavista. 21 appearances for QPR last year. And they began their season this season. So let's see what Reggie's been up to this year in Transfermarkt, the 26-year-old. Hanging out with Colorado after his time at QPR. So if you see Reggie Cannon, don't bring up Boavista. If in mid-August, when Atlanta goes out to Commerce City, Colorado, to go take on QPR, don't mention Boavista to Reggie Cannon. Just don't do it. It was September 23rd, September 26th of 23, picked up by QPR. Then 21 matches last year. Then he goes to be in Colorado. Played 8 matches last year, 10 if you include, 8 matches last year and 24 after the season was over at QPR. Now he's been in 8 matches this year, all comps. 6 matches, 482 minutes for Reggie Cannon, mostly as a right back. Just don't ever, if you ever see the Colorado Rapids play, don't ever bring up Boavista to Reggie Cannon. So somewhere in all of this blanking math, Boavista still hadn't paid FC Dallas on the transfer fee. Didn't pay Reggie Cannon, but then FIFA ordered him to pay $1.4 million because he jetted on his contract early because he wasn't getting paid. It was a great racket for Boavista, allegedly. And so Cannon would come out with about $14,000 ahead of time. But yeah, if you ever see Colorado and Reggie Cannon, don't mention Boavista. Back to our original story. Boženic, 48 caps with Slovakia, 19-4 over the last 3 seasons with Boavista, 4 goals, 1 assist in 2,400 minutes. Beyond Boženic, they're also looking to bring in other reinforcements before the deadline. So keep an eye on Boženic and RSL. They need scoring. And Noel Buck is went from New England to San Jose to continue Bruce Arena West. San Jose also agreed to a deal for Dwan Jones from Columbus. So there's some stuff. There is some stuff going on in Major League Soccer once again, getting close to the deadline tomorrow. So we'll see what happens across the board with the end of this go-round in the transfer deadline talk involving Major League Soccer and everything that is going on there. So Boženic, final stages as of about 20 minutes ago. Haggling over the currency. I'm not shocked by this one blanking bit. Eesh. Man. Who knew? Boavista and haggling over currency. Who knew that would happen? Who knew? Team of the match day last week in Major League Soccer. It was Ganago, Mora, Shallowy, your 3 forwards, Kromoski, Quinn Sullivan, Peglo from DC, Evander, Ndembe in Sporting, Cello Wagant, Jeremy Privet, happy birthday, Sean Johnson and net, Dean Smith, your subs, Gayese, Yamar, Eddie Ocampo, Owen Wolf, Georgi Mihailovic, Andre Linger, Jesus Ferreira, Denny Bouanga, Chicho Arango. So that's your match day 9 squad of the week. Shallowy, obviously, player of the match day for what went down in their matchup in the 8-goal thriller. Oscar Verhoeven, San Diego FC acquired on loan for $100,000 in GAM through the 25 season, 18-year-old youth international for the U.S. Deal has a purchase option in exchange for 2026 GAM and a sell-on. So Tyler Heaps, happy about this one. Joining Willie Kamado, Jasper Löffelson in the depth chart. They've also got Luca Bombino on loan from LAFC with Franco Negri and Hamadi Diop. Omir Fernandez got picked up by Portland from Colorado for up to $250,000 in GAM. Colorado gets $200,000 this year and could get another $50,000 in conditional 26. Fernandez under contract with Portland through 26, club option for 27. Houston signs Jonathan Bond from Watford on contract through 26 with an option for 27. Since he's a U.S. citizen, remember, you don't have to occupy an international slot because you played for a team overseas. So Pat Onstad happy about picking up Jonathan Bond from Watford in addition to everything going on with that. Now, let's take the tour. Yesterday, Leicester got relegated, or over the weekend, Leicester got relegated. Today, Manchester City and Villa in a makeup match. And if Jamie Vardy, by the way, was not happy with Leicester getting relegated, his contract expires this summer. 14 seasons with the club. And here's what he said on social. At this point, I don't even know what to say. No words I have can ever express my feelings of anger and sadness with the way this season has gone. There are no excuses. Collectively, as players and as a club, we failed. There is simply no hiding, and I refuse to entertain any suggestions of doing so, having been at this club for so long. We've experienced so many highs and successes, and this season has been nothing but miserable, and for me personally, a total embarrassment. It hurts, and I know you're feeling it too. To the fans, I'm sorry. Sorry we haven't performed, and sorry we end the 25 season with such an ish show. God bless our friends at Peacock for trying to, how do we phrase this? Find a G-rated way to talk about the ish show. But yeah, Jamie Vardy referred to it as an ish show. And ish was not the word that he used. Boffin, do not be surprised. We go all over the place. While we are based here in the southeastern United States, we pretty much try to cover everything. Yes, we do cover a lot of Major League Soccer, but we do cover a lot of everything overseas. We do talk a lot about the race for promotion, and in some cases, the race for relegation. QPR right there, mid-table championship. And but yeah, when we get into talking about Burnley and Leeds and their promotion to the Premier League, knowing that now Sunderland and Leicester are going down, excuse me, now a matter of time before Ipswich goes down, then who's going to be number 3? We'll find out that in short order. Wrexham back in the promotion spots in League One with 2 matches to go. So they hold the promotion a back-to-back-to-back in their own hands. Wickham is now in the top promotion play-in spot in League One. But, yeah, Boffin, I remember when Tony Fernandez and Air Asia were on the front of the QPR jersey. I might actually have one in my stacks. But no, we are not afraid to discuss anything and everything going on overseas. But, yeah, Jamie Vardy, less than happy. Referring to the ish show that is going on for all of that. It's an ish show, people. And the Telegraph is also Tom Morgan, Ben Marsden. What is it that we always say when you have more than one reporter on a byline? That's never a good thing. And in this case, it's definitely not a good thing. Because, and I know that this will not, this will not surprise in any way. But the Premier League is charged. Clubs are charging thousands for children to be mascots. Something that you don't see here in Major League Soccer. Because you know how we have like the ball kids and all the processionals and things like that? Prices have been branded exploitative by campaigners, with one team charging up to £1,800 for the privilege of being a mascot at the beginning of a match. Fierce criticism, obviously, from members of parliament and campaigners. The most expensive package surged 157% since clubs previously stood accused of neglecting low-income families back in 2020 when Telegraph came out with an analysis. Half of the top-tier clubs now hand out all places for free. Forest, Brighton, Palace, Ipswich, and West Ham are still charging rates branded exploitative by critics. That's true. I did mean Southampton. Southampton, yes. By the way, if you haven't seen the miniseries with Sunderland Till I Die, go watch it. I did mean Southampton. But yes, Alex, I did mean Southampton. They're bad. Clubs defend their pricing policies, pointing out hospitality and kit is often provided and free spaces also handed out to the community. So clubs are defending pricing policies. Well, it's okay that we're charging £1,800 for a young child to be a mascot and be a part of the walkout. Because, hey, food and jersey for the kid, that's included. Seriously, I'm guessing that hospitality and kit is often provided. Hey, look, you get a kit, doesn't have your name on it or anything. It's not personalized. And hey, look, you get food. You want a hot dog? Sure, we'll charge $1,800. We'll charge $1,800 for being a mascot. Dame Caroline Dinenage, chair of the Culture, Media, and Sport Committee, she expressed shock. Quote, "It feels a shame that some clubs are profiting by pricing so many young fans out of this wonderful experience." In 2020, when Telegraph first did this, highest rate swept to £700. West Ham, Forest, Norwich, and Villa, all advertising rates up to $500 and beyond for their biggest matches, despite complaints. Villa among the clubs to quietly ditch charging families. West Ham have also reduced their maximum prices. Forest now charge a Category A match. A family must fork out £1,800 plus VAT for an advertised package which covers the child involved and 3 guests in hospitality. So, don't know where you sit, but it's the kid plus 3, £1,800 plus VAT. The mascot. Okay, so here's your freeze. Arsenal membership, free ballot entry for members. Villa, free ballot for members. Bournemouth, free ballot. Brentford, free ballot for junior season ticket holders. Brighton, anywhere from $240 to $415. Chelsea's free. Something free at Chelsea. I would have thought that Chelsea would have been at the top of the ladder for this one. I would have thought that Chelsea would have been at the top, but no, apparently they're free. Will wonders never cease? Crystal Palace from $240 to $495. Everton's rumored to be free. Number wasn't made public. Fulham is a prize draw. It's a $5 entry fee, but you can get for a prize draw. You win the prize draw, you get to be a mascot. Ipswich is $250. Leicester, Liverpool, Manchester City, free ballot entry for members. Manchester United, Newcastle are free. Nottingham Forest, $1,200 to $1,800. You get to be a mascot and 3 guests get to come with. Southampton, not Sunderland. Southampton and Spurs are a free ballot. West Ham, $175 to $375. Wolves, last year, $290 to $395. Forest and Brighton reject all criticism of pricing structures, pointing out they also hand out multiple places free of charge on any given match day. On a match day, Forest said in a statement, Nottingham Forest invite a minimum of 2 match mascots, with one of these being a participant invited from our community trust programs and offered free of charge, and the other is a part of a hospitality package, which we can't put a price on as it is sold as a wider package. Consistently this season, we provided multiple free of charge mascot places for each home match, with as many as 5 catered for at some games. All these go to deserving children and or young participants from our community trust programs. Brighton say they give 2 free mascot spaces every home match and all away games. Where we only have 1 mascot, this package is free. Remaining packages are sold up to $4.15 because largely due to the fact that we were regularly asked for this service to be provided prior to us offering. So we didn't offer it. People asked, and we'll charge. We'll charge them for it. Packages tend to sell out within a few weeks of them being made available. We feel they represent value for money and give children an unforgettable experience. I would hope that it would be an unforgettable experience if you offered it to them. Hey, you want to be a mascot? Here, get into this drawing. Cost you maybe $5. But hey, you want to be a mascot? $415. And you know that there are people who will pay it. Critics, however, suggest all mascot places should be handed out for free in line with the majority of other top-tier clubs, most of whom require mascots to be club members. Public Accounts Commission Chair Clive Efford, MP. Pricing working-class families out of ever being a mascot like this is pure greed. Considering the millions Premier League clubs get each year from TV deals, how can they justify charging for what many as a childhood dream? They should be ashamed. Forest, recent research, ranked the stadium as the second cheapest top-tier home ground. Lowest average taxi fares and season tickets starting from $5.50. Club also offers the cheapest stadium pies at just £3.30, sorry. Yet the top mascot package costs more than the average monthly rent in Nottingham for a 3-bedroom house, which is £1,373. So choice is yours. 3-bedroom house, be a mascot. Don't answer that. Other clubs take dramatically different approaches in the lower tiers. Tranmere Rovers, for example, have a policy in which all young fans who purchased a kit had an automatic chance to appear in the pitch for free. We all should be like Tranmere Rovers. That'd be kind of cool. I know that happens that way in lower divisions, but very, very cool, nevertheless. So yesterday, Forest knocked off Spurs 2-1. It was over early. It was a late goal that got past Sells, but 2 goals early in the first half. Over. Leeds promoted, Burnley promoted. Burnley was up 2-0. They gave up a late goal themselves. And so Burnley and Leeds up again. And now it's up to the others to try and figure out how they're going to swing and figure out who's going to be in the most expensive game ever. Most valuable playoff matchup ever. 2 matches left in the regular season. Sheffield United, they're going to finish 3rd, so everything's going to go through Sheffield United. But right now, Sunderland's going to finish 4th. So you know what your top 4 are going to be. Sheffield United, Sunderland, they're going to be your home teams in the promotion play-in. Bristol City, Coventry City, Middlesbrough, Millwall, Blackburn Rovers. 5 for 2. And if you include West Brom and Swansea, then sure. You got to win your last 2. You got to have a lot of help. West Brom sacked their coach, by the way. 2 matches to go. Tony Mowbray out. Relegation, by the way, it's still a street fight. You have 7 teams separated by 6 points. Preston North End, Oxford United, 49. Hull City, 48. Derby's at 46. Big goal difference on Luton. Cardiff's at 23. Plymouth Argyle's at 23. Once again, 2 matches to go. Wrexham won yesterday. big win for them because now once again they're back in the driver's seat with 2 matches to go. Birmingham City's got 2 matches in hand. They're going to clear 100 points. That we know. Wrexham with the win yesterday at Blackpool, 86 points to 84 on Wickham. Same number of matches played. Same goal difference right now at a plus 28. Wickham has scored more goals if it comes down to that. But right now, Birmingham City, they're in. They're going up. Tom Brady was pleased. Wrexham, 86 points, 2 matches to go. They hold their third promotion in a row in their own hands. But right now, the 6th spot is between Jess Charman's Reading and Leyton Orient, and maybe Bolton, but they're way back in goal difference. Stockport, Charlton, Wickham, all 3 points separating each other. So they're the 3, the 4, and the 5 trying to figure each other out. And that's what that looks like. Bristol Rovers, Crawley, Cambridge, they're all fighting to stay afloat. Shrewsbury's going down there at 30 points, 2 matches to go. No hope for them. They're going down to League 2. And I believe Morecambe was relegated back to the National League after what happened on Easter Monday. So that's your work there. But yeah, if you want to be a mascot in the Premier League, more often than not, just don't be a fan of Forest. Don't be a fan of Forest. Norwich has sacked Thrupp and placing Jack Wilshere in charge. So keep an eye on that as we look at things. And we're probably going to try and figure out a way to catch up with things in the Northern Super League and find out what's going on there. The new Women's League in Canada underway, had a big crowd in Vancouver at BC Place for their first matchup. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see if we can talk to folks when it comes to the new Women's League here in this particular hemisphere. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that we might have missed with all of. Okay, so I don't think we might be caught up, but let me go to Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo. I want to watch where to watch it, how to watch it, and let you know what's going on. oh yeah, we got to talk about Mikhailo Mudryk and Ben Jacobs and all of his work that he's been getting going on overseas. Manchester United nearing an agreement with Wolves on Mateus Cunha. Still need to activate the £62.5 million release clause. Manchester United, it's 4-letter paper, by the way. Manchester United is under the impression that we think that Wolves will work with us financially. We think that they're going to work with us. The hard answer to that is want to bet. Yeah, Boffin, you're not the only one. Clubs are charging for mascots as a month's wages in his day job. Yeah, it shouldn't be that way. And to answer your other 2 questions really quickly, they're still debating whether or not they're going to Major League Soccer here, the top league domestically. If they're going to flip to the international calendar, it can be done, but you're going to have to figure out how to do it. Don't know how majority of the folks feel when it comes to aligning itself with everyone else. But if it would happen, I think it would happen probably in 27, if it's going to be. And here specifically, I know that you asked about development and sports and things. Like I said, high school show's coming up in a little over an hour because we're in the postseason, starting today. And the state of Georgia, where we are, is the number 3 state in the country when it comes to American football. And athletes heading to collegiate to play collegiate football. But the sport of FUTBOL, the other football, it's growing here as well. And you're getting a lot of talent from a lot of small towns that are getting looks. Very, very prolific goal scorers, very, very good at what they do defensively, whether it's in net or in defense. You're getting that increase as well. So I would love to know the numbers, but I'm fairly certain that it's on a growth curve when it comes to the number of folks who are who are going to the collegiate level here in the state of Georgia. I would venture to say that it's probably, once again, a top 5 state in the country when it comes to talent when the sport of soccer heading to the next level. And I mean that just going collegiately. I'm not talking about folks going pro and choosing that path. I'm just talking academically, where you finish up secondary school, you go to college. I think it's probably a top 5 in the country when it comes to that kind of distribution. But then you also have those athletes that go through academies, stay in the academies, and want to try to follow the pro path. So it's probably top 5, at least going to the collegiate ranks. But when it comes to everyone overall, whether you're going collegiate or whether you're going on a pro path, you're probably higher than top 5. Okay, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. I love how Manchester United, we think Wolves will work with us. Once again, grab your Ticonderoga number 2 pencil. Not so fast, my friend. For a second, I mean, Wolves is going to want to get paid. If they're interested in Mateus Cunha, we're getting paid. We ain't being patient. We're going to hang on to our guy. He's our talisman. He's our number 1. He's going to get us a lot of financial remunerations. We're going to get paid. And sure enough, why should I be patient if I'm Wolves? If someone wants to come up to me, hey, we're interested in Mateus Cunha, we'll pay you in full. And you are Tranmere Rovers. Okay, that's cool. And then Manchester United stomps their feet. But all you got to do is point. Look, Tranmere Rovers is cutting us a check. They hit the release clause at $62.5 million, and we're ready to go. That's how this rolls. I see the lack of patience. I see more laughter than patience. Oh, haha, Manchester United. It's like the wimpy philosophy from the old Popeye cartoon. Gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. We'll pay you down the line. We just want Mateus Cunha. Nah, fam, that's not how this works. Not happening. No, you trigger the release clause, you're paying us in full. Although it would be funny if Tranmere Rovers triggered the release clause. I don't quite, you never see that, but still. United sent scouts to watch Porto keeper Diego Costa as they look for a replacement for Onana. Manchester City are interested in Costa, who has a release clause of £64.3 million or 75 million euro. Arsenal have opened up talks for Victor Gyökeres in the summer window. A lot of stuff to catch up with Nino on Thursday. Arsenal consider Athletic Bilbao's Nico Williams a key target. Players undecided as to whether he wants to leave the club this summer. Manchester City's Nico O'Reilly will sign a new contract with the club after Chelsea showed interest in the U20 midfielder. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Manchester United have maintained contact with Benjamin Sesko's agent since he rejected a move to Old Trafford in 22. City and Bernardo Silva set to be the subject of interest with Barcelona once again this summer. Spurs weighing up a £30 million summer offer for Chelsea's midfielder Renato Vega. Spurs and Manchester City are set to battle it out for Lazio's Mario Gila, but they're going to face a competition from Real Madrid and Bayern Munich for the center back. Manchester United expecting to receive several loan offers from championship clubs for U18 fullback Harry Amas, who is 18. That's also from GMS. Villa exploring the possibility of selling Ollie Watkins for 50 to 60 million pounds and sign Marcus Rashford on a permanent. Bayer Leverkusen will not stand in Xabi Alonso's way if he agrees to become Real Madrid manager this summer. Keep an eye on that one because King Carlo probably out the door, and so who goes, and you'll get to see the dominoes fall from there. So Ben Jacobs had an exclusive interview with Sergei Palkin. The Shakhtar CEO reveals that Mikhailo Mudryk passed a lie detector test, trying to clear his name from the doping ban sustained on international duty for Ukraine last November. Provisionally suspended by the FA after an A sample returned positive for meldonium. Denies knowingly taking a banned substance. Athlete strictly liable for anything ingested unless they can prove sabotage or a flaw in testing protocol. Mudryk faces a ban of up to 4 years if found guilty. Meldonium. If I could spell meldonium. So meldonium, pharmaceutical developed in 1970 in the USSR Latvia Institute of Organic Synthesis. Now manufactured by pharmaceutical company Grindex, various generic products primarily distributed in Eastern Europe, used as an ischemia medication. Prescribed for cardiovascular, neurological conditions. Let me, because it's like off to the side here. Okay. So the trade name is Mildronate. Manufactured by Grindex, various generic producers, primarily as an anti-ischemia medication. Prescribed for cardiovascular, neurological, and metabolic conditions due to its anti-ischemic and cardioprotective effects achieved by inhibiting beta oxidation and activating glycolysis. Athletes have used meldonium to enhance recovery and, controversially, and this is from our friends the Wikipedias, performance, though these claims lack robust scientific support. Listed as a banned substance by WADA since New Year's Day of January 2016, functions as a metabolic modulator, altering enzymatic reactions. Some athletes, including Maria Sharapova, remember, used meldonium before the ban. Effectiveness as a performance enhancer remains controversial. Numerous athletes have since been suspended or disqualified for its use. So, primarily used for treating cardiovascular and neurological conditions, created in the USSR Latvia Institute of Organic Synthesis in 1970. So Jacobs catches up with Palkin. 44 appearances for Shakhtar between 18 and 23 before joining Chelsea in 23 for €70 million, plus a further €30 million in add-ons. Shakhtar could lose the bonuses if Mudryk doesn't play for Chelsea again. Palkin to Jacobs, he doesn't understand how it could have happened. He has no clue, no idea at all. So his lawyers organized for him to take a lie detector test, which he passed. It will form part of the evidence showing he didn't intentionally do anything wrong. Morning forecard. Mudryk has been clear it's not his fault that he tested positive. We now need to find out how this happened and who did this. His lawyers are trying to find out. Still no results from the B sample. Shakhtar also has a vested interest. The bonuses are linked to his performances. If he's not playing, it causes problems because we could potentially lose the €30 million. Back in 23, Mudryk, once again, you'll remember that he paraded around Stamford Bridge wearing a Ukrainian flag. Mudryk's move directly benefited thousands of Ukrainian victims of the war, according to Jacobs, because Shakhtar's owner Rinat Akhmetov donated a large portion of the funds to humanitarian causes. Palkin told Jacobs that Rinat Akhmetov gave €25 million from the Mudryk sale to support our defense against Russia and provide aid to Ukraine. Mr. Akhmetov has donated over €350 million, the largest amount among all private Ukrainian companies or individuals. Sets the tone, and under his leadership, we are all one family. We will fight until the end. The rest of the Mudryk fee was also vital to safeguard Shakhtar's future. Shakhtar have suffered financial hardships as a result of the war, forced to pay off around €40 million in debt to comply with FFP, which is silly, and avoid a ban from European competition, losing foreign players for free after FIFA suspended player coaching contracts in Ukraine in 2022 via an Annex 7 clause written into the bylines. So Shakhtar had to pay off €40 million while their country's in war to comply with FFP to avoid a ban, yet they lose players for free over transfers over Annex 7. Forecard, I would suggest at some point, just some point today, we'll post it later. We caught up with Mark Geiger from Pro. Batted leadoff this morning, and so he had a good 20-minute discussion about Pro, and hopefully it was an education for folks. And I know I probably left some things on the table, but the first 20 minutes of the show, we talked to Mark Geiger, and that'll be posted to the network. You can go back and listen to the show when this is over. So interesting stuff involving Mykhailo Mudryk and a lie detector from our friend Ben Jacobs, golden ticket holder overseas. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. We'll get into that and let you know what's going on here. Once again, remember, high school show coming up. Soccer's in Session postseason edition kicks off at noon today. We catch up with Jennifer Barr, the head coach at Denmark for the women, Ryan Burkhart, the head coach for the women at North Gwinnett, Nathan Nadeau at Dooley County at 12:30. Find out what's going on down there in Vienna. Tonight, it is Johns Creek at Lassiter on the girls' side, Efforting another match tomorrow. And we've got the Carolina Core, Atlanta United 2, 7:30 kick, 7:33 kick, 7 o'clock pregame from the Fraction tomorrow night. Efforting another high school match tomorrow afternoon. We'll keep you posted. Today, being en Español, Ligue 1 at 2:45. Copa Libertadores kicks back in. And be ready for Howard Hamilton and our friends from Soccer Metrics with the Copa Libertadores show. 6, 8:30, and 10 on BN. FS2, the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. Manchester City and Villa is on USA at 3 o'clock. Once again, being an Espanol, simulcasting Libertadores. ESPN Deportes, La Liga doubleheader at 1 and 3:30. Valencia, Espanyol, Barcelona, Mallorca. Fox Deportes simulcasting the league in Saudi Arabia. Universo simulcasting Premier League. beIN Sports Connect, Tasha de Portugal at 3:45. Rio Ave and Sporting. Copa Libertadores. Alianza Lima, Talleres Cordoba, Carabobo, Universidad Chile, Internacional Nacional at 8:30. 5 in the Copa Sudamericana, 2 at 6, 2 at 8:30, 1 at 10. ESPN Plus, La Liga doubleheader, NBCSports.com, simulcasting the Premier League, CBS Sports Network, NWSL Portland Gotham at 10:30. So that's a show. All right. So once again, thanks to everybody who came in this morning. Thanks to everyone who was a part of the discussion. Thanks to Pro. Thanks to Chris Rivet and Pro and everybody there for bringing Mark Geiger on to bat leadoff this morning. I hope it helped. Like I said, I'm fairly certain there's a lot of stuff on the table that we could have gotten into more detail on, but we had him for 20 minutes, and it was like a greatest hits. Coming up at noon, once again, Soccer's in Session Live. We start your postseason, get you ready for the playoffs. We've got coaches, we've got brackets, we've got matchups. That's at noon here across the network, and we'll break it all down for you starting today. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Soccer's in Session Live at noon. And we might have Clay Livingston on at 1 o'clock as well, and we'll see what happens there. So depending on how long we go, we might have Clay Livingston from Towns County joining us at 1 o'clock as well. So that's the rundown for the day. Johns Creek and Lassiter on the network at 6:30 tonight. Come on a little before that with your pregame. We'll have your brackets, have your matchups there, and we'll update you with scores throughout the night on our coverage at soccerdownhere.mixler.com, on the Mixler app, and at soccerdownhere.net. Click the Listen tab, and where we got games, you can listen. Whew, that's a day. We'll see if my hair can behave by tomorrow. That's it. I know. Yeah, that's it. Nothing. Another busy day. Once again, thanks to all of you guys for Tuesday Thoughts. Back at it again tomorrow. Tyler Pilgrim, Scarves and Spikes. Dylan Butler, MLSsoccer.com. Mike Gramajo of West TV down in Orlando to talk about the Purple Team at 10:30. So full day across the board tomorrow. Then Soccer's in Session once again at noon tomorrow, noon Thursday, noon Friday. Opening round of the playoffs coming your way here in the GHSA. Presented as always by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. And since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this unless I screwed it up and I completely and totally messed up the banner. So we'll try it again tomorrow, or actually we'll try it again in about 50 minutes. See you then, folks. Be good. Maybe later. Bye. Yeah, I did screw it up. So there we go. We'll run this and we'll end the show there. Bye.